People who take an interest in their garden always look forward to summer. People like Ernie Ibbotson, the caretaker at St Albans Museum for over 25 years. When he gets home from work, tea can wait. There's the garden to look over first. After all, this year it's got to have that little bit more life and colour in it than last, so right now is an important time. But then for Ernie Ibbotson, his interest in a thriving garden leaps just that little bit further than the plants and flowers. Mr. Ibbotson loves frogs. He loves them to such an extent that he devotes nearly all his spare time to breeding them. You get the impression that they seem to think something of him too. There aren't many people for whom a frog will sit contentedly in the palm of their hand as though it belongs there, if only for a few seconds. But then there's always another one close by, just as ready to respond to Mr. Ibbotson's friendly grasp. Things are fairly quiet just now because the mating season's finished. But at its height, the neighbours refer to Mr. Ibbotson's home as Brand's Hatch. You see, he estimates that he's got something like 700 frogs living in and around the garden ponds he's built specially for them. They're all his pride and joy, and he seems to know them all. But recently, something happened which caught Mr. Ibbotson totally by surprise, despite nearly half a lifetime devoted to raising frogs. Mr. Ibbotson has somehow managed to breed a new species of frog. Well, not so much a new species, more a new colour, yellow and orange.
Is there no record at all of frogs of that colouring before these appeared in your garden?
As far as I can find out, no. There is no record. But everybody I've ever dealt with, it hasn't been recorded before in this colour change, in our British species.
I mean, you've been in touch with all the top experts on this kind of thing,
yes,
the top naturalists.
I belong to the Herpetological Society, and I'm in touch with the record centre that cover all British amphibia for England, and they haven't had any records of anything like this before. The one distinctive feature is its eye, which is a blue surround to it, and its ear diaphragm, which you can see very... Whoops, we've lost that one. You can see very plainly there is yellow, where if one picks the normal up, the ear diaphragm of a normal frog, which is that one, which is black.
Tell me how you actually got this colony started in the first place here in your back garden.
Well, 28 years ago, I started on this brand new house, brand new garden, so I thought, well, I've always had an interest in British amphibians anyhow, so I put 2 ponds in. And of course, the frogs come anyhow. I mean, you've only got to dig a hole somewhere and put some water in. If there's any frogs about, they'll find it. And I just left them for, 25 years to their own devices, and they multiplied to 600-700, and I say they just once I got a different batch of tadpole, and this is what came out of them. It's no doings of mine.
When did you first realise that you'd got a different colour on your hands?
Oh, not till there was... the tadpoles had got 4 legs, and instead of being brown, they were yellow. And then it became obvious that I'd got something completely new.
While the earlier arrivals of this alien batch tended more towards yellow, from the spawn of subsequent mating seasons came frogs whose orange colouring was more and more pronounced.
One thing I notice, if you wouldn't mind just dipping your hand back into the tank again, picking out that rather nice big orange frog in the corner there, that's the one. They don't seem to mind you handling them.
Well, these don't, because I say they are my study group, and I've handled them so often over the years, having reared them from spawn, that, they just don't... They have no fear of me, or even you, at all.
He insists, however, that in his eyes, all frogs are equal regardless of colour. What's really important is his one-man campaign to save the frog as a whole from the annihilation which threatens so much of our wildlife today.
Well, they're a vital link, aren't they, in the balance of nature? They do a lot of good. They're an asset to anybody's garden. I mean, and they have such a vast amount of enemies. I mean, from ducks to seagulls to hedgehogs to grassnecks, the rotary cutter, man himself, small boys. literally, I see, as imagine these creatures have got more enemies than any other British creature we've got.